code to enter the vendor invoice. Now, as a part of the standard SAP system, here also, it is not necessary for us to create the master data for all the customers. Clear? So it all depends on, suppose I'm selling a 100 rupees or a 200 rupees item to a customer. Do I create a master data for such customers? Absolutely no. Right? Again, I can have a classification on my business volume, export customers, local customers. I had import vendors. I can have export customers. I may be sending my products to an outside country. I may be selling my goods in across the international borders. So I can categorize based on the business volume, business location, business volume, business location in the sense north, south, east, west, business volume. Again, if I'm selling products to a very noted customer, say he's giving me a business of say a couple of lakhs every year. So I categorize it based on the business volume also. So it is all the business decisions. It is all the business decisions as wanted by my implementing partner. Okay. Now let us go back to the slides. If there is something else which, so click on each of the things to learn more. Okay. So what is a business partner? We have already seen this in while we were doing our vendors. See master data.
And can store its own information for doing business with customers.
The general information, FI related customer code specific information, and as per the sales organizational information. Typically, this block of data is your SD responsibility of the sales and distribution module. Clear?
The business partner is created and the roles necessary for the usage of the BP are assigned. The different roles are created on certain.
So please go through
You
the
must
slides.
create a master record in the system for each account that you require. The following functions are available for creating customer master records.
Now, probably you have a new term centrally for accounting only. So I think I use a different term called as for finance related customers and finance related vendors, small time vendors and small time customers. I do not want to have the data from the sales and distribution side also. So that is finance specific data, which I'm okay with, the small time vendors and customers. But centrally here you have a new word. It is a combination. Centrally means, let me just a moment. Centrally means it is a combination of your FI and your sales information. All right. So these three levels of information for the vendor or the customer forms the central information, as you can see here. Centrally For accounting here means it is only the general data and the company code level information, which is more than enough for the business to tackle such vendors and customers. I do not want to have the involvement of the sales department at all, because I'm simply raising a journal voucher. If I sell a 100 rupee item, I simply make a note and give it to the customer, so he gives me the money and buys the item. Okay. So did you understand what you mean by centrally and finance specific data? I hope it was clear. So we will talk about as I've already told you, you will not be having an opportunity to create anything new, because the aim of this course is not for you to become consultants. It is a please understand that whatever training happens in this short period of time, it is not possible for you to have an expert knowledge. Expert knowledge takes months and even years together. One, when you constantly spend lots and lots of time on the SAP system. That is where when you can talk about consulting in SAP. All right. Now, because yesterday somebody asked me if this course can make them consultants, the answer is no. Okay. So we are just trying to drive in some concepts because you're all professionals. Okay, or rather you're going to be professionals, and a lot is expected from you people. Once you become professionals, lots and lots of things are expected in the business world or in the business environment. Lots and lots are expected. And once you become 1 or 2 years into your professional career, expectations grow. Okay.
Any posting to the AR subledger automatically updates the GL in real time.
So I think by now subledger concept would be clear. Your individual customers or your individual vendors, they are called as subledgers. And how are they linked to the finance module? Through the reconciliation account. Can you see this? The first point of interaction between your finance and your accounts payable, your finance and your accounts receivable, your finance and your assets is your general ledger reconciliation account. All right. So here, this is only when you have the integration concept, or you don't have the concept of sales order at all. Okay. You're handling the customer at the finance level itself. Clear? So please read them through. I will just keep browsing through this so that if I find any new term and it requires my explanation, I definitely will do it. Okay. So your customer A, customer B, customer C, they are your individual subledgers. Clear? And you have a combination. This is your sundry debtors figure. Clear? Now you must be aware of what is an open item. The item is considered to be open when it is due for receivables. When the customer is still, it is called as incoming payment. The money coming in from the customer payment, it is your incoming payment. The payment what we release to the vendor, outgoing payment. These are the terms which you will see in your SAP system. So again, the explanation. Okay. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Now, typical business scenarios. See, whenever you want to release payments to your vendors, suppose the invoice is say for 1 lakh rupees and you have some 5 or 6 invoices of more than 1 lakh. Suppose you're releasing the payment for an invoice worth 1 lakh. Do you release the payment of 1 lakh in one shot? May not be. You may or may not. So you may pay it in installments. You may pay things in you may pay things in installments. Suppose say I make a payment of 1 lakh invoice, 50,000 rupees now. Okay, and what is this called? This is called as a partial payment. So you have partial and residual payments or receipts. You may pay or you may also receive in installments. Even the customer may not pay you the whole amount for the invoice in one shot. He may pay it in 2 blocks or even 3 blocks. Correct? Now, how SAP, and this is a typical business environment, right? So what is partial? What is residual? How the system is behaving? Now, so this is very simple. So when does a partial payment arise? When the vendor or when you make a payment less than the full amount to your vendor, or when you receive the sales money less than the full amount. Partial. So the whole invoice, if the invoice is 1 lakh and you have received say 65,000 rupees as a payment, the invoice doesn't clear. It doesn't indicate that it is cleared. The invoice gets the status of a cleared item only and only when the invoice is paid or the invoice amount is received till the last rupee. Till then, the status in your SAP system will show that as a receivable or a payable. It will show as a liability or not. It will show as a liability pending or a asset pending. Clear? Now, suppose you have a $1 lakh. Amount received is say. So what is this? Amount paid or received, whatever. This will show an open item. Okay. This will show a debit or a credit based on whether it is a sale or a purchase. Clear? Now, this is cleared. So what is the balance? ₹35,000 is the balance. So in a scenario where partial payment is followed, the invoice, both these items are shown. One as a plus, one as a minus. Clear? If it is a customer balance, it will show a plus debit and 65,000 as a minus credit. Now, 35,000 will be the balance, unpaid. It to be received or whatever. In the scenario of partial payment, both of it will be shown. The original invoice and the payment which it has received against this particular invoice, both of it will be shown. Did you understand? But when the residual methodology is followed, you have two ways of paying it in installments or receiving the money in installments. Residual, one is partial payment or partial receipts, the other one is residual. So when the end user follows this methodology, residual payments, the original invoice, the original information is knocked off. it is not available in your system. The open item will be only for 35,000 rupees. Only this will be revealed. Only the balance which is pending will only be received in the residual methodology of paying or receiving money in installments is concerned. Clear or unclear? If it is not clear, let us read and let us see if it can help. A residual payment allows you to settle an invoice in stages, in blocks, in installments. You make an initial payment. You make an initial payment of 65,000 rupees, clearing that part of the invoice. So 65,000 is clear. The remaining unpaid balance becomes a separate item. And this is what is being shown to the user. Only the open item or the unpaid balance only will be reflected. But in this case, both your original invoice and your partly paid amount will also be shown in this particular case. In this case, see, let me see if it's an example. See here, both of them will be shown in the partial payment. 8,000 against an 8,000, 5,000 is received. Both your 8,000 rupees, the initial invoice and the payment, the partial payment is reflected. Whereas in case where the residual methodology of your installments is concerned, 8,000, 5,000, they both do not appear in your statement. Only 3,000. When you take an outstanding balance of the specific customer, only the 3,000 rupees will be shown. The current open item will only be shown. The separate unpaid balance becomes the remaining unpaid balance becomes a separate residual item, and this will only be the item which will be reflected. So in 99 cases out of the 100, we do not follow the residual payment. We as consultants, we always ask the implementing partner to follow the partial payment methodology and not the residual payment methodology. Normally, 99 out of the 100 times. Clear? Yes, APP also works for your AR module also. I will tell you why. I will just pick these questions. Yes, Migo and Miro. Yes, it is connected to the GRIR, but please hold on. You are getting inside the subject. Most of these questions, if you're asking me such questions, people may get confused. Not many people, I'm assuming, not many people would know what is Migo and Miro. So please hold on. Do not ask me such questions as far as the current moment is concerned. Now, if somebody asks me what is Migo or a Miro, would he or she be in a position to understand? You would be in a position to understand. But what about the other people? So please try to understand the sensitivity. OK, please try to understand what kind of a crowd we have, right? Absolutely clear. Yes, perfect answer. Very good. See, as far as a contract with the customer is concerned, are you telling me that it's a piece of paper, and is that contract what you're talking about? But how does SAP understand that it is a contract? How do you formally tell the SAP system that you have entered into a legal agreement for your sales with your customer? There has to be some indication in the SAP system to legalize or to formalize this agreement. So this happens through a sale order. I hope I've answered this question. Why a sale order in SAP? It is because of this. See, I sign a legal paper with my customer. That is different. How does poor SAP know that you have signed a contract? So that legality has to be, that legal understanding between you and your customer is understood by the SAP system through a purchase order for your vendors and through a sale order for your customers. It is not different from a contract. Clear? So I hope these two questions are. How does APP work for the accounts receivable module also? Normally, the customer shows a debit balance. Correct? So whenever I sell an item, so and the vendor shows a credit balance, customer shows a debit balance, right? So under what circumstances? Now, if the customer is showing a debit balance, he is liable to make a payment to me. I am supposed to receive money. But if he has a credit balance, if the customer, because how does the scenario appear? Now I have sold 100 items to my customer. He has made a payment for all the 100 items. And he conducts a quality check in his organization and finds that there is some discrepancy in the quality. So he returns all the 100 items to me. So in this case, what should I do? Either I should fulfill by supplying a new set of 100 items, or I should settle the sale invoice, right? How do I settle? By making a payment to the customer. Either I can supply fresh set of 100 items, or I can raise a credit memo, or I can make a payment through the APP to the particular customer. It picks up the payments. So do you understand how APP works for your AR also? Very interesting. Is there any settings so that you remind customers for their outstandings? Yes, you have a concept called as dunning. I'll just make a note of it. Now, is this understood? Partial and residual. Now, another important functionality in the AR module is, now we had a concept of automatic payment program in AP. As important or as critical as that of APP in your vendor module, you have a concept of dunning in SAP, where you automate the process of reminding your customers. Why do you want to remind customers? For their outstanding this also is a very, very interesting process. So the concept of you reminding your or sending timely reminders to remind your customers that they need to pay us money is through a concept called as dunning. Clear? I hope I've answered this point. How this happens is a different process. Dunning also is a similar process to that of your accounts, your automatic payment program. There you are paying the vendors. Here you are reminding the customers of their overdue payments, outstanding or their overdue payments. Here again, The process of dunning is also very, very sensitive. Why? Because if at all my customer is doing a huge business with me, I cannot irritate him by constantly calling up for outstanding or sending him everyday reminders. So why did I say it's a process? Just like you automate the process of releasing payments to your vendors on every 15th or the 30th of every month, you also set this dunning procedure a time limit which is set up to remind the customer. So probably for high profile customers, I would not at all be sending the dunning. So you can block the dunning process. Just like you can block the vendor from getting paid, you can also block the customers from, you can also block the system from running the dunning process for a specific set of customers. That is also possible. Or you can fix up a time, okay, when you actually want to send out the reminders. Okay, if I generate the sale today, I cannot immediately send a reminder tomorrow. I should also give him some time, right? I should also give the customer some time. So just like you would enjoy your credit time from your vendors for making a payment, the customers will also expect some time to be given by you for them to make a payment. So all these things are taken care of in your dunning procedure. This actually is called as a procedure. Dunning procedure. So I hope I've answered that question also. Somebody had asked me as to whether there is a process in reminding the customers for their outstanding payments. This is your answer, dunning procedure. Good questions. Very nice. I hope I've answered almost all the questions. Some of the questions I'm not answering on purpose because I'm waiting for that topics to come up so that I can discuss that. Okay. So people who have satisfied, or rather if you have any more questions, please put them up in your Q&A. Okay. So now I hope we have understood the difference between the partial and the residual payments. Clear? How the system behaves in each of the cases. What is the down payment? I think somebody had asked me this question. Of course, I think that person had used another term. Now, what is this down payment? Anybody has an idea? Because I see some of the people, they have asked questions about Migo, Miro. So I'm very sure that these people, they have enough knowledge on SAP, or probably they would have already started working on SAP. Any idea as to what is down payments? Down payment is nothing but the advance. Down payments is nothing but your advances made you can pay something in advance. Suppose the material is running out of stock. So he says, the shopkeeper says, in 2 days, I'm receiving the stock. So won't you pay him some amount to book the sale? Same thing may happen in your case also. You may be producing a product in high demand. So the customers may want to book the sales in advance. So they may make some payments in advance. So this particular concept in SAP is tackled by means of special general ledger transactions. See, the normal sale, the normal purchase, you making payments to your vendors, you receiving money from your customers, they are all the normal transactions. Your partial payments, your residual payments, right? But as far as the advances are concerned, SAP treats this particular transactions in a different way. Now, how does SAP break open this? Now, I will just make a point here. For you to conduct the normal transactions with your customer or your vendor, you had the concept of reconciliation account. So one reconciliation account for the normal transactions. For the special general ledger transactions, you have a new reconciliation account must be constructed in the operational chart of accounts to make the advances transactions smoothly. So you have one reconciliation account for the advances made, one new reconciliation account for the advances received. You make an advance payment, you receive a payment in advance. So for both these scenarios, you have two different newly created reconciliation account. It is not the same as that of the normal reconciliation account, what you use for your normal transactions. Confusing, or is it clear? Now this special general ledger transactions is broken up in SAP in the form of a down payment request. That means the customer is requesting that is, you are requesting your vendor, or the customer is requesting you for an advance. You are requesting the vendor for advance booking for the purchase, and the customer is requesting you for an advance to be accepted for the sales. This in SAP is also called as a noted item. Why is it a noted item? Why is there a special reference? This is a typical SAP term. Okay, probably you may come across this in your slides also. So what exactly is a noted item? This is just a request. See, the down payment is just a request. Correct? So does it have any financial impact? You have still not paid, you have still not received anything in advance. So it is just in the request stage. Clear? So there is no receipt or the payment of money as of now. Now, in the second step, you actually make the down payment transaction. In the sense, there is a exchange of money. You pay the money to your vendor in advance. You receive the money in advance from your customer. Okay. Now, ultimately, what should happen? How do you settle the advance? You need to settle, right? So whenever you pay the money in advance to your vendor, when does the item get cleared in SAP? Only when the vendor supplies the goods, and the invoice is recorded in SAP. So once when the purchase invoice comes into your organization and gets recorded in SAP, the new invoice and your advance, they are matched. They are matched and then cancelled or settled against each other. Same thing happens with your customer also. Suppose the customer has made a payment to you in advance. How do you settle the advance? How do you settle the transaction? You supply the goods and you raise an invoice. You raise a sale invoice, and the sale invoice will be connected to your advance received transaction and it is cleared in SAP. This is how the process of down payment takes place. Concept understood or not understood? I'll just pause for 2 minutes, think about this concept and tell me if you have understood or not understood. Please gather yourself and let me know not only this down payment, if any of the topics they are unclear and if it is a relevant question. See, on purpose, I did not explain what is MIGO and MIRO, which one of the students asked. Why? Because it is still a little premature for me to get into that particular topic. So just hold on. Such questions I will not be taking up for now. All right. Only with the intent that it may not be making sense to the others who are yet to see the SAP system. Okay. If everybody had seen the SAP system, I would have immediately taken up that question. But since I'm assuming that most of you are new to the SAP system, may not be in a position to understand that particular question, MIGO and MIRO, and a few other questions. So that is why I'm keeping silent about it. But please tell me if at all you have not understood any of the concepts which have been discussed. Sorry, I said I am giving you 2 minutes time, but I didn't give you. I continued talking. I'll remain silent for the next 2 minutes. All right. Let me look at the Q&A section.
So please check the
this
published one, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Yes.
So we have just 2 more minutes for lunch. See if why different transaction codes for vendors and customer payments. Is it the same activity? It is not the same activity, right? I'm releasing the payment to the vendor and I'm receiving the payment from my customer. So that is why you have 2 different transaction codes for your vendor and customer payments. Because you can't record the vendor. Suppose I'm making a payment to Messrs A Limited. I'm receiving a payment from another customer, Messrs B Limited. So can I include both of them in one transaction code? I cannot. Okay. Special GL transaction. Okay, I will do that. So I will take up this question after we come back from lunch. Did you understand the answer for this? Why are there different transaction codes for vendor and customer payments or receipts? Can we use the same code for different posting keys and general ledger account? I didn't understand the second part of this question. Can we? But I only hope I have answered the question. Okay, so people who have asked me the questions, please also reply whether your question is answered or unanswered and whether you have understood. So don't worry, this question I will take up once we are back from lunch. Clear? Janvi ma'am, we can break for lunch.
Yes, sir. Students, it's break time now. It's lunch break time, 1 o'clock. So we'll take a back in another session at 2 p.m. So
Sure.
do log in at 2 p.m. for the next session. Thank you so
Sure.
much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you, students. Yeah.